First question is from Amy Lang, 25. How do I train to failure for the most muscle building when I train alone?
All right, let's answer this
Advanced
first.
maps anabolic.
Yeah.
Next question.
He got it. No, you know what? Okay, there's
Punctual.
two general schools of thought around failure training. Okay, one of them is right, one of them is wrong. So here's what they are, right? One school of thought is failure means you can't move the weight anymore. It literally means you fail. So you're doing squats and you're on the 9th rep and you really grind it up and you're struggling. And then the 10th rep, you come up a halfway and then you fail and you drop the weight. That's one school of thought. The second school of thought is that failure is the last good form rep that you can do. Yep. Anything beyond that, and now your form is off and you're now training bad recruitment patterns, your injury risk goes through the roof. You don't want to strengthen bad recruitment patterns. You don't want to increase that risk of injury. And there is no additional value in going past that intensity. We belong to that second
That's the smarter
school,
version.
right? So when you're training alone and you're going to failure, what you need to do is you need to go to the last good rep. And that's usually a rep that you're grinding out, you're feeling, and you know you probably can't perform another one. So that'll keep you safe in the sense that you're not going to drop the bar or totally fail. However, the risk of overestimating the rep is still there, especially when you first start training to failure because you can't gauge where failure is. So I always recommend, if you train to failure, whether you have a workout partner or not, to use safeties when you use a barbell. I don't even like to do it with a partner because if I fail on an exercise with a barbell with a partner, that means that they have to know how to spot me properly.
And they usually screw that up.
They usually I've gotten hurt with a partner spotting me wrong way more than I have failing with a barbell.
Yeah, and on that sort of note, I definitely wouldn't do like a 1 rep max.
No.
I wouldn't recommend that unless you're testing out for some sport. But in general, multiple reps to failure, and then to your point of like losing form is really that's the metric I would stick with for the majority of like that's considered failure to me is when I can't perform it with perfect form.
Yeah, I just want to make it clear to the audience that you can build the most amazing physique and get really, really strong and never train to failure.
That's right.
Yeah, you can totally do that.
I know obviously we program that in Advanced Maps Anabolic to teach people how to do it if they were going to program it. But the truth is that of all the things that are going to factor in you getting strong, you losing body fat, you building muscle, training to failure does not crack even close to the top 10.
No.
It's not necessary at all to do that.
It's just a tool.
Right. And so, if you don't feel like it, you don't feel comfortable with it, I would just say don't do it right now. If you really wanted to, I think I would ask questions like, well, what exercise are we talking about? And then I could give you a specific suggestion to that exercise, like how I do it. There's certain ones that I don't even mess with though, to be honest. Like I don't know if I've ever trained, I mean, I guess to mechanical failure, right? But I don't risk like an overhead press with like a substantial amount of weight that I wouldn't do. Maybe I would do it in a seated press where I'm supported and
Really?
where I have like a military.
I don't have a problem going to
bars.
failure with overhead press because I feel pretty confident bringing the weight down to my chest or dropping the weight.
Yeah, you can get rid of it pretty easy.
I think benching is probably the most
bench, squat, dead.
Deadlifts you could because you could drop the bar.
Yeah, easily. That's what I said. Bench, squat, dead are the 3 that you would catch me training
with safeties with bench and squat though.
All of them.
Yeah.
Deadlift you don't need it.
No.
And then
But I'm talking about without safeties, bench not a good idea to go to failure.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
But I mean that's how
most vulnerable probably.
That's why too all the rest of exercises out there, the value that I get from it isn't worth the setup or the risk.
Right.
And deadlift doesn't require any sort of setup. You literally just drop the bar in that situation. Squatting, if you know how to practice bailing on the bar or safeties, easy there.
Just let it go behind you.
Yeah, and bench press, put the safety bars on most benches have the safety bars. Put that there so at least you can get your neck out.
I don't think this is an issue anymore, right? Most good home gyms have safeties. PRX does.
Yeah.
The old school benches didn't. I remember the old school ones with no safeties where it was just you unrack it and the bench actually came with the rack type of deal. where I've gotten stuck under that before. And there is a technique to it, by the way, if you get stuck under the bar where you can get out. Doesn't feel good, but you can do it. Squatting, you practice failing with safeties. If you don't have safeties, you got to know how to dump the bar. Do not let a spotter save you from a failed squat. That is such an easy way to get hurt.
I've seen so many people get hurt because of that.
I don't recommend a spotter for squatting at all. I just don't. I think it's such a better exercise to
pointless.
bail when you feel mechanical.
Agreed.
When you feel mechanical, you'll catch me. I mean, I used to do it a lot to where like people would trip out. They'd be like, "Oh my God, are you trying to hit a PR every day?" And I'm like, "No. As soon as I feel mechanical breakdown and I'm loaded, right? I'm 300 plus pounds on my back. I just drop it.
Yep.
Why risk it? I just, if I'm coming up and I'm like, oh, I overestimated my strength today.
That's right.
And I'll just let it go.
That's right.
Instead of trying to grind through it or saying, hey, come spot me and have some dude hug me from behind. Like, why?
Yeah.
Makes no sense. Like if you're going to push the weight that much, then learn how to bail on it or put safeties to where you
Which,
can just
by the
let it
way,
go.
the only proper way, if you were to get spotted on a squat, which you shouldn't, you need to know how to drop it or use safeties, is literally a person has to hug your chest
you and, like, pull you
come up with you. And nobody does that. Everybody tries to grab the bar.
And then when they do that, they push you forward just slightly, and
Yeah.
then so you lose your balance forward, which is the worst case scenario. Which I've seen that happen so many times.
yeah, no.
just
It's
not
either
a good
back or
exercise
knees
to-
or something
to have
blows.
somebody.
Yeah, but again, I'm going to make this point again. Whatever you train, you strengthen. So if you're going beyond good form to squeeze out another rep, that means your form has changed and that intense last rep is going towards whatever that form was that you used. So if I'm benching, like a common thing to happen when someone benches and they actually fail, or not the rep that's perfect, but the one after that, they go for another one, is you see this twisting or shoulder rolling. And then maybe they get it up. But here's what you just strengthened, that form. That's what
it.
you just strengthened.
That's it.
So it takes away from good technique. It encourages bad technique because that's what you're strengthening. And that last rep is the most productive rep. So I do not like the whole, like if you go until you can't lift the bar. I know very few people have the technique and skill to do that without their form going out the window. It's very rare. Only really advanced lifters I've seen be able to do that properly.